Hi my friends, our story today is Home of the Brave, and it's by Tom Brodkin. I hope you like it, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button to receive new stories. Let's start. 1. Tell the truth. Be kind but truthful. Your son has never experienced death before. This is the first time. He has wild eyes, a sugar addiction, baby teeth, and is 5 years old. A kind boy. He doesn't whine about attending preschool or church. Without being asked, he picks up the toy cars in his room and lowers the toilet seat. You can feel as though you've won the lottery on some days. He helps you say grace at night. His favorite teddy bear, Waffles, and you and your husband are all included in his prayer as he closes his eyes and clasps his hands over a plate of hot dog mac and cheese. Sometimes you wonder whether he really means to say Waffles the meal. He once prayed to God to keep an eye on you. He is mature enough to handle the reality if he is mature enough to have this viewpoint. Number 2. Tell most of the truth. The youngster who cried last Easter when he saw you hiding beneath the rosebush and hiding a bright blue egg in some dirt is still there, though. And once more, as you two were playing chutes and ladders, he landed on the last chute, which launched him back to the beginning of the game board. Additionally, he slammed the TV until the screen faded with static last week after spotting your husband's face splashed on a news story and believing his father was locked inside. So perhaps you don't need the whole truth. Because you had to slightly embellish your story back then when you said you were helping the Easter Bunny because one of his eggs had hatched the instant he set foot on your lawn and he had to go off to care for the bunny hatchling over cookies and milk, didn't you? Or the time you spent 6.5 minutes persuading your sobbing toddler that you had been purposefully playing the board game backwards as a joke and that the entire time the chutes were actually ladders. Or when you eventually urged him to stop hitting the TV because the issue had been resolved and his father would return at any moment, and the two of you just stared at the TV with the right antenna bent like a broken wing and the black and white grains pixelating the screen. Number 3. Tell some of the truth. Tell him your spouse will be living with God for a while when he asks you again where his father is after you've put him and Waffles to bed. Remind your son what a fine man and skilled craftsman his father is with his tools of the trade. Tell him that the noise issue St. Peter has been experiencing up there can only be resolved by it. It is accurate to say that you cannot be certain whether the pearly gates have a squeaky hinge issue. However, you are ignorant of that. You would expect somewhere in Terre given the number of fresh visitors who arrive each day. In any case, they must have some fine men up there in heaven, so maybe that's why they picked your husband rather than, say, the real estate agent who assured you that all your dreams would come true in this home and that you wouldn't have to worry about a thing. Number 4. Lie. Your preacher would be against it. As you are aware, you can see his face lecturing about the 10 Commandments when it is sweat-soaked, hard-mouthed, and firecracker red. Thou must not bear false witness against thy neighbor, he said in a voice that could be heard resonating throughout the pews. However, since it's your son and not a neighbor, you might be excused from the rule because of this. Who hasn't lied before, anyway? The Campbells once claimed they lacked the funds for the collection plate, but you subsequently saw them at the wine shop, both of you toting full baskets. Or the time your pewmate Ruthie May brought a vegan cake to Bible study and you could definitely taste the butter. Bless her heart. You were aware that it was butter because you had made up your diet of margarine solely. What about those instances when your husband came into bed well past midnight and informed you that he was out performing emergency repairs for a client who had invited him inside for a drink? Yes, if there's one thing you already know, it's that if you really believe something, it might cease turning out to be a lie. Number 5. Say nothing. You once sneaked into the kitchen while your mother was in the shower, flung open the freezer, and ate the entire 6-pack of ice cream sandwiches. Not really sure why. Just out of ability. The empty Klondike box and you with one hand on your chilly stomach and one glued to your sweaty forehead were the consequences of your dinner when your towel-clad mother came out of the shower. She didn't say anything. Retreated a step, then another, until the door separating her from your sobbing and she was secure in her room. It took you 15 minutes to sit up straight, and it took you a half hour before you could admit what you'd done. for your mother to accept your apology, and even longer, but the truth is, the discomfort from the ice cream vanished on its own. It vanished without your mom having to say anything. It only took a little while. Perhaps this explains why you sometimes remain silent when your son inquires as to how much longer God will require your father's help. You move around the house like a ghost. Change the TV channel, make dinner, and maintain silence. Your hubby is your ice cream ache, waiting for your stomach ache to go away. Number 6. Answer his questions. You start to dread hearing, "Is Daddy coming back soon?" One reason is that it fluctuates by minutes, hours, and days. You might hear it 4 times in the course of 60 minutes if the two of you are attached to each other on the couch. Other times, with the help of coloring books and zoo visits for distraction, you can go an entire weekend without. In addition, he has developed a tendency of telling you that, in accordance with your pastor, Jesus returned in only 3 days, so why is it taking his father so long? You should be pleased if he is paying attention at all throughout the sermons. It's a modest triumph. The question, "Will he be back in time for my birthday?" is one of his other favorites. Likewise, "Can we visit him instead?" Even yet, one night at supper he surprises you by asking, "Will you leave me too?" while holding his teddy bear in front of his face and speaking in a savage tone. You haven't yet said yes to any of his inquiries. Number 7. Tell the truth about how you feel. Mom is worn out. Mom is not feeling good. A headache is plaguing Mom. Mama is alone. Please give us just 5 minutes so that Mommy may have some peace and quiet. Number 8. Be direct. When you pick him up from preschool one day, he is holding a basket the size of his head. It's filled to the brim with neon cardstock, a rainbow-colored patchwork of pinks, blues, and reds. When you help him into his booster seat, he won't give you an eye contact. You don't notice the words on the cards, the crayon curlicues, or the misspellings until you've crossed the belt over his chest. When you ask him about it, he replies that his teacher, the fair-haired person who is currently waving at you from the doorway, heard the news about his father. He describes how she forced the other kids to forego naps in order to write the cards, but she pulled him aside and told him it was good to express his true feelings over losing his mom. Your grasp causes the door to crash with a sound similar to a knife slicing an apple in half. You turn to address the instructor, but she has already entered the building with her back to you, so you are left alone and forgotten. What you intend to say to the teacher, you do not yet know. You will only understand it in the heat of the moment. Getting in the driver's seat is easy. Allow the engine to growl and purr. Inform your son that you need to confess. You can only muster up the courage to glance back at him. Number 9. Reassure, reassure, reassure. Your son has your assurances that nothing is his fault. Tell him that he was not responsible for the mishap, the bottles in the refrigerator, or the argument you two had the last time you saw your husband. Tell him how grateful you were that he continued to stay in his room despite the broken vase. Even as your accusatory voice became hysterical. Even when your spouse slammed his car door, stomped out in his pajamas, and rushed off to who knows where. Then you do something you haven't done in a while. You thank him out there in the preschool parking lot for his tenacity. For displaying such bravery and strength during this all. Before the reporter could inform you that your husband had a passenger when he ran the last red light of his life halfway out of town, he smacked the TV antenna and turned the screen into mush that day. Number 10. Keep hope alive. You could feel as though you've lost the lottery some days. Without your husband's ghost lingering there, the house is serene and tranquil. After the funeral, your son speaks less frequently. Perhaps he doesn't believe you to have the solutions anymore. Most days, he simply sits on the carpet with waffles and silently drives his toy cars over the floor. Except when they crash onto the coffee table and flip over, making a noise similar to a bomb going off. When that occurs, you occasionally swoop down to rescue the car as a light in the night. Feel the change in weight in your hand. You gently lead it and its fictitious occupants to safety. Place it down and let it travel in the direction it is going until it reaches its destination. And this is the end of the story. Tell us and comment if you like it. Thank you for watching and see you in next story. Goodbye, guys.